I am sitting around, avoiding the new tax forms, when the phone rings. It's Lou, my buddy, my pard. Lou says, "Hey TJ, you gonna watch the fight?" As usual, he's fishing. "Like to," I say, nibbling the bait. "Then get your tail on over here," he says. "I don't know, Lou," I say, swimming away. "I don't want to hear it," he says. "Fight starts at 10:30. Be here by 10. "You know how much that sucker costs?" I ask him. I know it won't do any good. Once Lou makes up his mind to do something, that's it until the sky falls down. $50, Lou says. "So what? You know how big this fight is?" "It's a big fight, Lou." "Big," he says. "It's bigger than that. It's huge." "So's the bill, Lou. How are you going to pay for it?" Lou is a dear friend, an old pal. In the ore of friendship, he's solid gold. We grew up on the same street, graduated the same high school together, still live on that street, play on the same softball team. I love the guy like a brother. Still, I've got to be objective when dealing with him, because when the sky does fall down, which it inevitably does, it hits not only Lou, but also anybody close to him. I've been nailed by the sky a number of times on account of Lou and one of his big ideas. "No problemo," Lou says, his contribution to the collection of famous last words. "Get down here. This is going to be an epic. We're not talking about a fight, TJ. This is history." "Your history, Lou," I say. "Don't you dare hang up on me. Someday you will thank me. You'll say, 'Yeah, sure, I saw that fight. I'll never forget it. And I owe it all to Lou.'" "I owe the government, Lou. I can't afford it. Repeat after me, TJ. The fight of the century. Goodbye, Lou." Lou is, of course, undeterred by my objections. He's got a plan. A plan in Lou's mind is as dangerous as a bomb in the hands of a terrorist who doesn't understand explosives. Lou thinks he's an Einstein, but he's more like Wile E. Coyote. "I'm on the phone right now," he says. "I'm calling Mike, Dave, and Scott, and they said they'd come. And you know if Scott comes, the wiener will come too. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, which means it's what? $6 a guy. That too steep for you?" "It's $7, Lou," I say. Math was never his best subject. Lou didn't have a best subject, unless you count harebrained schemes. "Lou, have you called these guys?" I ask him. I have been stuck like this before, many times over the years. Big fight, big crowd, big night. Turns out to be Lou, me, and some guy I don't know who leaves before the fight's over, and Lou and I have to foot the bill. Lou's memory for these evenings is somehow blank, and if I remind him, he says, one time. "I'm calling him right now," he says. "Get over here." It's 9:30. Lou is not big on advanced planning. If he were in charge of the space program, he'd walk into a room, clap his hands, and say, "All right, what do you say? Let's go to Mars." Planning, preparation, they take the fun out of things for Lou. Thinking to him is something that gets in the way of a good time. If you think out there, you're dead. That's what Mr. Tolliver, our football coach in high school, used to say. Unfortunately, it's the only educational morsel that stuck with Lou after the graham crackers in kindergarten. He had a big church wedding planned, a double-ring ceremony with all the trimmings. I was going to be his best man, and he eloped the night before, without telling anybody. Vintage Lou. It was a disaster on the order of the Titanic and the Great Chicago Fire. We all showed up for the marriage the next day. We're standing around in our suits and dresses in the church. 300 people. It was 90 degrees and the church wasn't air conditioned. People are melting. I lost 12 pounds inside a rented tux, and Lou phones from Pittsburgh. He calls the church and asks to speak to me. Yells, "Hello. TJ, I'm married," he says. Tells me he elopes. Tells me to thank everybody for coming. Tell them the good news, he says, and tell them all to just go to the reception and have a good time. This includes his parents and the parents of the bride, who are all frantic because they don't know where their children are. I remember exactly what I told him. Pittsburgh? Who goes to Pittsburgh on his honeymoon? I do, Lou says. It's great. Say, TJ, can you wire me some dough? I'm a little short in this hotel. Man, you wouldn't believe what they charge. So I had to tell 300 sweaty people the good news that they should go home. There wasn't going to be any wedding. The suits and dresses and flowers, all the arrangements, down the drain. I had to tell Lou's mom and dad. I had to tell his wife's parents, and I will never forget the look on their faces. And then I had to wire $500 to my old pal, Lou, in Pittsburgh. That was my wedding present to him. I mean, telling the 300 sweaty people, including his folks and those two poor saps who are now his in-laws, that he had gotten married the night before. I made him pay me back the money. Pittsburgh, what a jerk. I put on a jacket and walked down the block. Lou lives at the far end. I live in a house that used to belong to the Maloneys, a nice old couple who never had kids. It's small and close to my folks, and I feel comfortable here until I get married, which I hope to do in a few years. Lou lives in the house where he grew up, so to speak. What I mean to say is that Lou never grew up, and he lives in the house where he supposedly did. His folks sold it to him, and they moved into a condo. It's a little bit weird going up to knock on a door that I've been knocking on for over 20 years. Even now, I feel like his mom is going to answer the door, greet me, and shout out, "Louis, it's TJ." Lou answers the door. He's talking on the phone. No, he's pleading on the phone. He cuts off his conversation and hangs up. "That was Dave," he says. "He's in. Scott's coming over for sure. I'm calling Mike right now." I say, "Don't do this to me, Lou. I don't want to get stuck again." "Like, when did you ever get stuck?" he says. Oh boy. "Like the last time," I say, "and the time before that." Okay, he says, waving that off like I'm making it up. "Or the rafting trip. That was $90, Lou. $90 you still owe me. I remember." "Well, while you're walking down the memory lane of debt, Lou, you're still into me $100 from the wedding, remember? Pittsburgh, 5 years ago?" "I am not. I paid it all back to you." "The heck you did. Just sit down, have a beer. Sit down." Lou's got a bowl with pretzels and a bowl with potato chips, barbecue potato chips, Lou's idea of class, and a container of onion dip. I know the beer's in the fridge. I say, "Lou, I don't want to sit down. I'm not going to stay. I don't want any part of this." "What are you talking about?" he says. "Sit down. I'm calling Mike." "Great," I say. "Tell him I said hi." Lou turns to me and he's got that look in his eyes the dog gets when you put it out in the rain. "Oh, come on, TJ," he says. "If you back out, nobody'll come. You gotta stay." This is an old ploy with Lou. Real old. I call it his "you're the last friend I got in the world" ploy. I know it well, I've seen it many times before, and I hate to see it because Lou knows I won't call him on it. The thing of it is, see, I am just about the last friend Lou's got in the world. The rest of them all got hit by falling sky. "Lou, I don't want to get stuck for $20 again," I say. "I can't afford it. I'm doing my taxes, man. I'm broke." "It won't be $20, Lou says. "We'll split it 7 ways. $6, that's it." "It's $7, Lou," I say, "and you better tell everybody to bring their own beer." "Yeah, okay," he says, "but I got beer." "Okay, I'm in for $7, but that's it, Lou," I say, and I go to the door. Lou actually blocks the door with his body. He's still holding the phone. The two of them are like dancing partners, Astaire and Rogers. When Lou talks on the phone, he picks up the whole thing and walks around with it, cradling it in one arm like it's a baby, cramming the receiver between his neck and shoulder, using his free hand to wave around in the air for emphasis, or to pull back the drapes to see what's going on outside, or raid the refrigerator. Meanwhile, getting the cord wrapped around everything. You could film this as a comedy short, just Lou in a room with the phone. "Where are you going?" he says. "You're not going anywhere. You're staying." "I'm going home to get my $7, Lou," I tell him, "and some beer." "You're coming back," he says. "You're coming right back?" "I'm coming right back." This is going to be a great fight. Lou moves aside and lets me out the door. As I'm going down the steps, I hear him talking on the phone again. He's telling whoever it is that their life will end if they miss this fight. I go home and scrounge up $7. I really can't afford it, but I don't want to disappoint Lou, and I really would like to see the fight. He's right. It's a big fight. Huge. By the time I'm walking back to Lou's, it's after 10 o'clock. I hate to spend the money, but I'm excited about seeing the fight. I'm getting psyched, thinking about the matchup, walking along in the dark. Lou has left the front door open, letting in the cold. I go in and close it behind me. He's still on the phone. The line is tangled around one of his legs, plus the chairs, tables, lamps, and other furniture. There is no one else in the room. Where is everybody, I say. Lou doesn't answer. Get a beer, he says, waving that free hand of his toward the kitchen. I know I should leave, but I'm here. The night is shot, and I want to see the fight. I put my $7 down on the table. I do that to encourage the others to cough up. They have a habit of forgetting once the fight is over. They get up, go home, leaving Lou and the last friend he's got in the world to pay for the fight. And there was that one dirty dog who swiped the money I'd put on the table one time. We never did figure out who was low enough to do that. I'll keep my eyes on it tonight. Where is everybody, I say again to Lou. It's about 10:15. He's waving his hand for me to be quiet and saying, yeah. Well, do your best. He hangs up. Who was that, I ask him. Grab a beer, he says. He's pacing, trying to think of someone else to call. My guess is he's already run out the list of family, friends, and registered voters. Lou, I say, fighting to keep the panic out of my voice. Where is everybody? Where is anybody? Scott's on his way, he says. Scott lives across the street. His way would take about 20 seconds if he were on it. I wait half a minute. Then I say, Lou, you're doing it again, aren't you? Scott's coming, Lou says, and that means the wiener will be here too. Lou, I say, how reliable is a 34-year-old guy named Wiener? Don't start in on me, he says, I'm thinking. Custer turned to his soldiers and said the very same thing when Sitting Bull and the entire Sioux Nation came over the crest of the hill. Coach Tolliver was right. I say, I'm leaving, Lou. I'm out of here. I reach down and pick up my $7. It will not be recorded in any history book, but it's an auspicious moment in the making. Somebody take a picture. Lou is losing his last best friend in the world. Right at that moment, Lou's wife, Wendy, comes in the front door. I'm just his ex-last best friend in the world. She is his wife. For me, the pain of knowing Lou is intermittent. I can make it stop. Imagine how she feels. She is tired to the bone. Lou is her pair of cement shoes. This is a woman who had her honeymoon in Pittsburgh. I can remember when they were dating. Whenever I would see Lou, he'd say, I've broken up with her. And he'd give me some reason which made absolutely no sense and which was even more ridiculous because Wendy was a wonderful, sweet girl who had no business ever dating a guy like Lou. But that's what he'd always say. I've broken up with her. And one time I challenged him. I said, you can't break up with her, Lou. You've already broken up. You can't break up with somebody you've already broken up with. And for just a moment I had him. He had to think about that. But then he said, no, we made that up, but now I've broken up again. The key, which I didn't know then, but I see so clearly now, is that with Lou, broken up is a normal condition. Lou was born broken up. Lou is broken up. Wendy stands in the doorway staring at me. It's one of those situations where she doesn't know what's going on, but in another way, she knows the whole story. The name of this story is Lou is at it again. I feel like a guy with his hand in the cookie jar, guilty and foolish, an awful combination, especially when you're not even close to being 6 years old, like Lou. Here's another picture. It's about 10:30 at night. I'm standing in her living room holding $7 in one hand and a six-pack in the other. Her husband is holding onto the phone like it's his lifeline. Behind him, the cord is stretched out around stuff like a spider's web. The TV set is on. Pretzels, potato chips, and dip are waiting. With one flick of her eye, she takes in this scene. Wendy is wearing her waitressing uniform. From the look on her face, I would say her night has not been full of bliss. Lou, she says, what's going on? It's not a question, it's an accusation. We're going to watch the fight, Lou says. What fight, Wendy says. Who's watching? Me and TJ and some of the guys. I say, hello, Wendy. Wendy says, hello, TJ. She looks at me like I am responsible for the moral corruption of the entire hemisphere. I wish I didn't have the money and beer in my hands. I wish I was not there. I wish I was home doing my taxes. I vow never to listen to Lou again, but I've made that vow before. This time I vow to keep it, but I vowed that too. I'm a lousy vower. Wendy doesn't look at me long. How much are you paying to see this fight, she says. Oh, come on, Wen, Lou says. It's a big fight. How much, Lou? Well, we're going to split it 7 ways, Lou says. I'm praying he won't try the math again. How much, Wendy says, and she puts a lot of anger into her voice. Wendy is a quiet person. I don't think she thinks too much of me because I am an old pal of Lou's, and she didn't like the bachelor party I threw for him before they got married, and even though I can't prove it, I think Lou told her it was my idea that they should elope, so she's blamed me for Pittsburgh all these years. On the other hand, Pittsburgh was probably the high point of her married life with Lou. I really don't know Wendy that well, other than what Lou tells me. The only other thing I've ever seen out of her besides quiet is mad. She gets angry when Lou pulls one of his stunts. Angry, but I've never seen her blow. Suddenly, I start to get afraid. I see Wendy as this volcano that has been simmering under Lou for 5 long years. It hasn't blown, but when it does, the ash, smoke, and debris are going to be visible for hundreds of miles. She's Vesuvius, and I'm standing 2 feet from ground zero. How much, Lou? Wendy says. $50, Lou says very quietly. He says it the way a little kid would confess a sin to a priest. Well, the room gets so quiet you could hear a hydrogen bomb drop. I say, I was just leaving. Lou shoots me a look of betrayal I'll never forget. It's a 16 on the Richter scale, but it doesn't stop me. I'm going, I say. But Wendy and Lou are between me and the door, and they aren't moving. $50, Wendy says. She is no priest. $50? Oh, no, you're not, Lou. You're not spending $50 on some fight. I've never heard the word fight said quite the way Wendy said it. She really bit it off. I could see her teeth. It's not $50, Lou says. We got 7 guys, and that's... Where, Lou? Where, Wendy says. Where are your 7 guys? Well, Lou says, as if anything he might say will make a difference. Scott's coming. He'll bring the wiener. And there's TJ and me and you. I jump right in. No, Lou, I say. The house counts as 1. You can't pay double. I say it to protect myself. Lou is on his own now. All I want is to get clear of that door. I'm not watching any fight, Lou, Wendy says, or half screams. Tears are filling her eyes. I'm not paying to watch any fight, she says. I've just finished a 16-hour shift, Lou. I'm tired. I don't want people coming over to my house. Did you ask me? Did you ask me, Lou? She is crying pretty steadily by this time. I'm on my way out, I say. I'm going. You know how much I earned in tips tonight, Lou, she says. $46, Lou. And you're going to blow it all on some fight? I told you, we're going to split it up, Wen, Lou says. For the first time he notices that he is all tangled up in the phone cord. He looks at it like he wonders how it could have done that to him. You don't have to watch it, he tells his wife, the woman he swept off his feet, the woman who landed in Pittsburgh, the woman who 5 years later is working 16-hour shifts as a waitress. And it's my house too, he says. I can have some guys over if I want. Oh, wonderful, Lou. Make your stand, I'm thinking. I can hear the sky begin to fall. What guys, Lou, Wendy says, and I'm afraid I detect the first signs of full-blown hysteria. Where are those friends you're talking about? Well, there's TJ and Scott, and Scott's not coming, Wendy says. This is another one of your... She's past being upset and rocketing into outrage, climbing every second. You ever think of spending $50 to take me out or buy me a new dress, Lou, she says. You ever think of doing that? I'd take you out, Lou says, trying to sound hurt and failing miserably. We go out. He must be referring to Pittsburgh. You bastard, Wendy shouts. You have the nerve to say that? Boy, I gotta go, I say. I try to walk between them, but they are the rock and the hard place. Quite honestly, I don't dare. Look, I got a right to watch the fight if I want to, Lou says. I earn money too. Jesus, Lou, I think. No. That's right, Lou, Wendy says. You can choose. You can pick the fight or me. Oh, come on, Wen, Lou says. I already called all the guys. There are no guys, Lou, Wendy shouts. Hey, that's right, Lou, I say. Nobody's coming. They stood us up again. I'm going. Don't go, Lou says. You want to see the fight, and you know it's practically starting right now. This is the hole all over again, Lou, I say. Don't start with the hole, he says. The hole. when we were kids getting into a little trouble, before we were teenagers getting into bigger trouble, Lou had this idea to expand the driveway to make a bigger basketball court. It was going to be some court, almost as good as the one at the War Memorial downtown, where they played the city championship games. He talked about it all the time, this great court. And one day Lou got out the shovels and a pick. He said his father had given him the green light to expand the driveway. We had to dig out the lawn. I would help him because I would play on the new court, and besides, I was his best friend. Lou started in with the pick, told me to get the wheelbarrow out of the garage, told me to take the sod and dirt out the backyard where his father had told him to dump it, where the ground was low anyway. So I did. As we worked, Lou talked about how we were going to build it, how far down we had to dig, then to put in a basic gravel, crushed rock, then 3 inches of asphalt. He really sounded like he knew what he was talking about, and the more we worked, the more I got into it, until I could really see the grand, new, expanded court, the best one in the neighborhood. Lou was going to paint in a 3-point line, and then Lou's mom came home. I can still remember the look on her face when she got out of the car and saw us. And suddenly the great new court vanished in my mind, and I was standing in this enormous dirt hole in her front yard. She yelled at Lou, asked him what he was doing, and Lou said it was okay. He'd cleared it with his father, and she said, "We'll see about that," and charged into the house. Lou swore he had, right up to the time his dad arrived and made us dig all the dirt from the backyard into the front, filling the hole back up, and it took us all day. And we had to plant seed, and I got in trouble at home about it. I got grounded for helping Lou dig up his yard. Lou talked his way out of it as usual. Nothing happened to him. But ever since then, whenever I'd want to get Lou's goat, I'd just say, "The hole, Lou." And I'd always had the feeling that someday Lou would dig himself a hole that even he could not get out of. I believe that day has arrived. Lou moves past me to the TV set. I should run to the door, but things are happening too quickly for me. I barely manage to step over the phone cord as he goes past. "I'm punching it in," Lou says. He's got the cable box. "Don't you do that," Wendy says. I say, "Lou," but I'm too late. "There," Lou says. "I punched it in, so now it's coming on no matter what. So you may as well stay and watch the fight." "Oh no, I'm leaving," I say. "I'm out of here." I know that this time, after a lifetime of big ideas and dumb decisions, Lou has gone too far. This hole is too deep, and when this sky hits, it's going to flatten him. Before I can move, Wendy crosses the room and takes a swing at Lou. "I'll punch you," she says. "I'll punch you." After 5 years, Mount Wendy is about to blow. I say goodbye and run out the door. I've still got $7 in one hand and the beer in another. Behind me I hear Wendy shouting at Lou, then Lou shouting in pain. I hear the crash of a lamp, then another. I don't know if she's throwing them or if he's pulling them down with the phone cord. The lights go out in the house. Its only illumination is coming from the flicker of the TV screen. Then there comes a crash and a boom, and that light dies. I turn and run. Behind me, all hell breaks loose. Lou starts shouting, and Wendy tells him to get out, and I'm running down the sidewalk as fast as I can go. I want to get home and lock up the house so Lou can't get in. I don't know where he's going to go, but he's not staying with me. A cop in a patrol car stops me when I'm almost home. He hits me with his spotlight, tells me to stop, gets out and asks me what I'm doing, running like that, with money and beer in my hands. I give him my name. I dig out my driver's license and I say, "Officer, I live right here. I'm just going home. I've been down at my neighbor's watching the fight." "Oh yeah," he says, when he looks up from my driver's license. He hands it back to me. "That's right, the big fight's tonight. Must have been a short one. Who won?" I hear a howl from up the street. It's Lou. Then a door slams. I'm not sure, I tell the cop, but I think she did.